Howdy, howdy, and welcome back to Gale FFTCG. I'm Serah, your host, and honestly, you already know what it is. It's the top 4 ice cards by rarity that I think you should definitely be considering in Opus 16. In the past, have been, cynical about ice cards. Obviously, I always try and keep these videos enthusiastic, but ice hasn't been doing very great. But I think this set is really going to change that. And so without further ado, let's just jump straight into this review. Obviously, these are just my opinions, and I could be totally off the mark. But I think these cards are going to stand the test of time, certainly. First off, we have our 2CP Bard standard unit. The real cool thing about this is it is a backup, and it's category 11, so we can search it off of Star Sybil. Ice Earth was once a thing. Might be a thing again, especially in category 11. You can tap to return Bard to its owner's hand, and you can only use this ability during your turn. The cool thing about this is normally the problem has been in the past that an activated ability is just kind of like, you activate the ability and then it enters and that's it, and then it just kind of taps for stuff. And those have been famously the best ones. The cards enter and then they just kind of, keep this up. This card is a card that you can use when you want. You can decide to bounce it back to your hand, but you don't need to immediately do it, and that's really cool. I think the longevity and the flexibility of this card makes it great already. The other interesting thing to know is that at damage 5, when Bard enters the field, you can put Bard into the break zone, and when you do, your opponent discards 2 cards from their hand. So you need to obviously bounce the Bard to your hand, but you can hold off until maybe late turns, or you really need your opponent to start dumping those cards from their hand. So you just go, okay, Bard, cool, bounces back, play it again, and your opponent just starts discarding cards like crazy. And I think that's really good. It's about as good as a Sephiroth. Obviously, you have to put the Bard in the break zone, but it makes ways for some better stuff. So I think this card is certainly one to be chasing. It's a common, obviously, so it's going to be easy to get a hold of. But I think this card is really strong and has some really cool implications for the discard consistency that Ice really needs to have. Up next, we have maybe what is one of my favorite cards in the entire set. I love a lot of cards in this set, but I think this card, honestly, is just sets all of the serotonin lights off for me. I think it's just phenomenal. We have 2CP Laswell, 5k. It's a knight, which is always great. We know there's a big package for that, FFBE. When Laswell or a job knight enters the field, you choose a character, you dull and freeze it. Super simple. I think this card is so strong because it's not only when Laswell enters, it's when any knight enters. Obviously, that makes you a little bit targetable for Amaterasu, and I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to do that. But I think this card, if your opponent isn't in fire, you are really already so far ahead by just playing this and then playing out, a 2CP knight and another 2CP knight. You could play Beatrix with this. It just gets so powerful. And the longer they leave this on the field, the more likely you are to be really running away with the game. At the end of each of your turns, if a job knight you control attacked this turn, your opponent discards a card from their hand. Again, consistent advantage. You need Laswell off the field. If Laswell is on the field for more than a turn, there's already a problem, and you're already winning. The interesting thing is, as well, to note, at the end of each of your turns, if a job knight you controlled attacked this turn. So the thing is, you could attack, and your opponent goes, okay, I'm going to blow that up, or I'm going to block it with something big, and I'm going to combat trick and make sure that thing dies and my thing doesn't. You still get to draw the card, and that's really important, I think. It keeps that ice game strong. You're not drawing a card, but your opponent's discarding cards, and effectively that's generating advantage. So you swinging, if you deal a point of damage, so much the better. Your opponent suddenly is discarding a card from hand, and they lose a card from deck that goes into damage, so you're just that much closer to winning. It's a good resource drain, and I think this card is going to see a lot of play. It is definitely my favorite card this set. In our heroic slot, we have Agrius, which again synergizes so well with Laswell. The only problem is its name clash, but honestly, I don't think that matters because it's a pretty good card. 2CP, 5k. It's a knight and a holy knight, for whatever that matters. The thing we care about is that it's a knight. If you control a category FFT character other than Agrius, Agrius gains plus 3k. That's a backup as well. The Serah engine searches out Ovalia, already buffing this to a 9k. super strong. I think this card is going to be fantastic and constructed, and I think it's totally worthy of its heroic, just on those merits alone. However, it gets better. When Agrias is chosen by your opponent's summons or abilities, and they really want to get rid of this Agrias, trust me, if this is on the field for a long time, it's going to generate some value. If they target this with a summon or ability, your opponent discards a card from their hand. So strong. You play this, you swing, and your opponent's like, oh, I want to kill it. It's like, well, you're going to have to do it at the cost of a card in your hand. Anytime they want to target this, it's going to make that thing automatically 2 CP more expensive than what it was. And this is the kind of card that Ice needed, something that provides substantial threat and does not need to attack to be good. Funnily enough, on the other side, Agrias has an on-attack trigger, and it's a damn good one. When Agrias attacks, you gain a crystal. It's so good to see Ice getting a crystal generator. When the spoilers were coming out, me and some of the guys over the YYT were really worried. We were like, oh no, have they just sided crystals? Have they just thrown them aside? Do they care anymore? Did they think that their first run of it was just bad? Doesn't seem like it, because this Agrias is awesome, and releasing cards like this that when they attack, and you want to be attacking with this, especially if it can get up to 9k with like Ovelia, you want to be swinging pretty early. You could pretty much slam this turn 1 or turn 2, and your opponent's already far behind. And I like that. I think that's a really good thing. Yeah, I just love this card as well. And in our last slot, there is a Shantoto, which is so cool, so unique. But I think this card, again, it makes Ice playable. Like, really playable, really good. We had something like Physalis a couple opuses ago. That's okay. I can live with that. I'm all right with that. But this is a whole different kettle of fish. It's so strong, and I love it. So 3 CP, Cloud of Darkness, 7k, pretty bog standard. But when it enters the field, you can pay 2 crystals, and when you do so, choose 1 forward opponent controls. You remove it from the game. As long as Cloud of Darkness is on the field, your opponent cannot play any copies of the removed card. The fact this just is targeted remove from game is really strong by itself. The fact your opponent can't play copies of the same card is even better. If this goes against Bart's Boko, you just play this. Oh no, my Bart's is gone, and I can't cast it, and I don't really have removal. Maybe I run Typhon, and I'm lucky, but that's it. That's the sort of thing that it takes to stop this card. You can Amaterasu it, but at damage 3, Cloud of Darkness gains an extra 2k, so it's kind of... You keep your thing, and that can maybe swing the game in your favor, but you also, don't automatically kill it, and that's a problem. I just think this card is great. I think it lives up to its legend status, and I think it's, again, a good step in the right direction for Ice. So that about wraps up my review of the top 4 Ice cards by rarity that you should definitely keep an eye out and be looking to build around or be looking to counter. I think a lot of these cards are super strong. I think a lot of these cards have really big implications on the game, and for Ice in particular. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and tell me what Ice cards you are super excited about. Have a good day and a good rest of your week.